Hello again, I'm Chris Higenyi and welcome to this segment of the Morning at NTV program. It is the Kickstarter discussion, and today we are discussing fighting skin cancer among persons with albinism. Now, just to give you a bit of a preamble, albinism is an established risk for skin cancer in populations that are grappling with the condition. It is understood that ultraviolet radiation is highest at the equator, and Africans living with albinism who are close to the equator have the highest risk of developing skin cancers. According to the United Nations, 98% of people living with albinism do not live beyond the age of 40 because of sun exposure with skin cancers, making the cause that much vivid. We are now joined by Alan Tenyoa, the founder of Gob's Children Foundation that engages directly in addressing this plight, and he's going to be, well, helping us understand some of the challenges they're going through, but most importantly, what interventions are in place to ensure that this spectre is reversed. A very warm welcome to the program, Alan Tenyoa. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. Thank you so much.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I've
just been reading a preamble that has what is no doubt grim statistics.
Yep.
The fact that I'm just learning that people living with albinism don't live beyond the age of 40 as a result of factors including sun exposure.
Yeah.
Before you bring us up to speed with that, just take me through the state of affairs right now when it comes to, first and foremost, the incidence of skin cancer, but most importantly, among those living with albinism.
Thank you so much. First of all, my name is Antonio, and I'm the founder for Gob's Foundation.
Thank you for coming.
And we are trying, of course, to create more awareness and do some support about persons with albinism regarding the issue of skin cancer.
Yeah. So
statistically, when you look at the death rates of people with albinism, it's almost at the age of 40 years. That's why you could see it's rare for you to find someone living with albinism who is 50 years old. And why? I think it's because when you look at locally here in Uganda, you could see that the government is slightly taking less attention regarding how they can package the form of supporting people with albinism. For example, when you look at most of the hospitals, or when you go to the hospitals, you'll see that there are less machines where it's difficult for them to access the healthy services. For example, there are fully levels where someone can easily get skin cancer. If a person is hit by sunshine, if he or she doesn't use the lotion, then he has to use a machine which we have been raising for, but the cryogan. It uses...
What machine is that?
It's called a cryogan.
Cryogan.
It's a very small machine which uses liquid nitrogen, and it's used to kill the pre-cancer cells, which result into skin cancer. Okay. Now, generally, when you see in Uganda, our campaign has been to see if we have many access to these machines, and there has so far only been one general machine in the country where all people with albinism from various regions have to access it.
Wait a minute. We have a single machine in this country that caters for the administration of that liquid nitrogen.
Yes.
In the country.
Yes.
How much is this machine?
It's so funny. It costs 6 million Ugandan shillings.
Alan Tenyoa.
And it's not owned by the government. It's also owned by an organization.
This machine costs are you talking about $6 million?
6 million Uganda
shillings. And we have a single machine in the country.
We have a single machine in the country. In May this year, we launched a campaign as Gob's Foundation called Coffee with Gobs, where we were aiming at bringing people together for a coffee cause, but of course with the theme of addressing the skin cancer problem. So we managed to raise 4 machines. And of course, our target was to see that we give them to prominent organizations which are supporting people with albinism. Why organizations with the capacity, of course, to see that they can do the treatment is, one, they have a network of their own people who always come for the services. Of course, you know, for example, when you go to northern Uganda, it's pure difficult to take this machine, let me say, to a hospital in northern Uganda because they are so scattered. But when you hand over to a capable foundation with albinism, you realize that the foundation has its own people. They have their own network and they can easily access the services. So what they always do is for example, monthly to go for skin cancer checkups and also treatment. Now, I was telling you, when the sun hits a person with albinism, because they are lacking, various layers on their skin. When sun hits them, it goes directly
directly.
And then you realize that if he or she gets a wound or a sunburn, then it takes a few days for it to develop, and eventually it becomes into skin cancer.
Yeah.
And the best way you have to treat it before cancer comes in then is by killing those cells by the use of this machine.
Yeah.
That's why, for us, or for me as an advocate, I believe it's really possible to prevent the skin cancer among people with albinism if we took, or if there is serious measures taken.
Allow me, and not even allow me, just forgive me for being taken aback a little too dramatically about this whole fact that this machine costs 6 million Uganda shillings, and somehow we do not have them as sufficiently or as readily as we must. Before the government can, for example, be put on the spot for not providing some of these equipment for intervention, there are organizations, there are stakeholders who are dealing with the challenges that people who live with albinism face. Where are they? Because when you speak about, let me be honest, when you speak about 6 million Uganda shillings in Uganda and you're saying this machine is unavailable, something is wrong somewhere. And I don't know whether to even blame you, because you are the founder of Gob's Children Foundation. What does it take to galvanize these funds to be able to bring a machine that costs 6 million Uganda shillings on board?
To be honest, it's so easy, of course, to have access to that money. But the point is, or the question comes in.
The decision making.
Well, yeah, first, that's the first thing. And then two, people are not aware that albinism even exists. Then two, they don't, because of the less population they are, now it's difficult also for the government to really get engaged deeply and feel like we really have to do something. And when you look at the organizations as well, who are really trying to advocate for the rights of people with albinism, I think they feel like they have some other issues to address.
In other words, the challenges or issues surrounding people living with albinism are second-tier considerations or concerns.
Yes.
There's been that reluctance on your part. That means there's been a concerted and very deliberate effort to reach out to either government or other stakeholders or actors, but the response has not been forthcoming.
Absolutely.
I don't want to put you on the spot to who you have spoken to or those that you have engaged, but bring us up to speed with effort from first and foremost your organization, but also other private sector players that are making any headway. What is not going right? Who is not speaking to you? Who is not receiving your calls?
I think the Minister of Health is not getting concerned to see that they put this into the state cancer policy. Otherwise, if at all the government or the Minister of Health could feel like in their next financial budget, the need for ensuring that in every region in the country, or in every sub-county, or every organization which is supporting persons with albinism can have access to this machine. That's number one. Then two, not only necessarily ensuring the machine is present, but also who are the people to use the machine?
The experts.
Then I mean the dermatologists, of course. So if they get to know the entire concern about albinism, and the entire concern, deeply concerned about how can they be also supported, then that's one best way. We shall see that many areas or many organizations have access to these machines. But now because they are reluctant, and then two, they feel like they don't have a voice. Of course, you know, if you have a less population, then you have less voice. Now because they feel like their voice is a bit low, and you see that most of them who are also suffering these consequences are majorly deeply in remote communities, and they don't have access to social media, don't even know if I get sick where they have to go. Now the few organizations, for example like GOBS or SINUPA or other NGOs who are into albinism, they always have to hustle to go deeply and look for where they are. And also I think the problem that they are not networked together is a major challenge that many of them they fear to come out in the public that, you know what, I'm also living with albinism. So eventually, someone ends up getting sick and is living in the deep area X, and he won't also wish to come to the public to know, you know, I'm living with albinism and I have a problem X. And you also see that if he or she goes to a nearby, let me say, local government, or they don't have measures which are really straight concerning persons with albinism. So the awareness about skin cancer is very minimal, and also the measures taken to see that this is prevented is also very minimal. So I would wish the government to deeply get to know.
Don't wish, Alan Tenywa. You are on Morning at NTV right now. I want you to speak directly to the camera. You look into your camera and speak directly to Ugandans, Ministry of Health, government, and all stakeholders who are watching right now. This is unacceptable. Talk to them.
First of all,
use this camera.
I'm calling upon the Minister of Health to get to know that, one, persons with albinism exist in the government or in the country, sorry. And then two, they also have challenges, and the leading challenge is the problem of skin cancer. So if we don't take measures to see that it is worked upon, then we are going to find that they are less, it's going to be very expensive to undergo the issue of cancer treatment. So if we do the prevention of skin cancer in time or before it matures, then the costs for treatment is going to be high. That's why we need access to many of these cryogans to so that at least every person with albinism can have access maybe monthly to a skin cancer checkup or a skin cancer treatment. So that means when someone is treated in time, so you realize that the cancer or the cost for cancer will be reduced. And that's my call for the government, of course.
All right, that is very passionate, and it's an appeal and a plea all in one. What we are hearing right now is unacceptable. It is something that needs to be taken up with the utmost urgency, and of course including any other aspects of health that involve Ugandans and our citizens. Earlier we were speaking to our senior health reporter, that is Walter Mwesigye, and this brings me back to what he said, the fact that we do not actually lack some of these resources, but the decision-making process, sometimes it's not a case of ignorance of what is happening, but a lack of attention to some of these aspects. And I hope that what NTV or Morning at NTV is doing, amplifying this particular spectre, is something that can go a long way in ensuring that skin cancer among persons living with albinism is arrested, but most importantly, the life and the welfare of these persons is attended to. What are your parting shots as we end this particular interview?
First of all, we have been doing a campaign about this cause, and we have tried to raise 4 machines in the country. We have given them to so far 4 organizations, 4 NGOs. We are sure they will really have the capacity to go deeply into their areas of operation, and they do more skin cancer treatment. Now, what we are calling upon, of course, is to see that many machines are present in the country, and then two, they are not taxed, because we had to also incur more charges, you know, to see that they are entered into the country. Then it's also our call to the government to see that they put this as to the people of albinism, that they can access these machines in more areas. All right,
Alan Tenywa, founder of Gob's Children Foundation, that is engaging and intervening in the aspects of persons living with albinism is concerned. Many thanks for the insights and perspective. It's a walk of shame for the Ministry of Health and the government and those other stakeholders that ought to do something. I'm Chris Higenyi. It's been a pleasure hosting Alan Tenywa, and of course shining a light on some of the challenges of persons living with albinism. I hope we can do a follow-up and later be able to register some successes in ensuring that these interventions reach them. This is Morning at NTV.